How are you? My name's Eric. This is Talking with Famous People. And tonight we've got a couple of exciting activities on tap for those of you who choose to join us in the live stream. For example, the first thing that we have on tap is a little something I like to call making corned beef. Actually, the first thing we have on tap is a little something I like to call pulling some bong rips. After we pull some bong rips together, then, after we start feeling a little bit more tender and intimate with each other, I will begin making corned beef. Um, we bought one at the store today for the purpose of making it. We went to a second store to get some all purpose gravel. And what I have to be careful to make sure I do is not confuse the corned beef for the all purpose gravel. If I cooked all purpose gravel long enough in beef broth in the crock pot, presumably it might become edible at some point, but I have my doubts. I really do. It would probably take like 1,000 years in the crock pot. I'm not sure the crock pot's heating element would last 1,000 years. Anywho, regardless of all that, what I want to tell everybody is that the big, exciting drama regarding show media, the Mad Magazine board game, and eBay, who apparently took it upon themselves to ban show media for complaining about these people not mailing the board game. Well, it turns out I guess they had mailed the board game. I don't know why it took so long to get here, but we did receive it today. It does appear, and I believe is, a vintage 1979 Mad Magazine board game.
Yeah.
And so Rachel and I are going to attempt to play that after I get the dinner started and so forth, you know. At the moment, of course, there's nobody here, so there's no point in us playing a board game on camera in front of no one. However, there is a point in cooking the corned beef on camera in front of no one.
Mm-hmm.
Because the point of cooking the corned beef is to cook the corned beef, not to put on a show. Putting on a show cooking the corned beef just makes it easier and more likely for me to cook the corned beef.
I like that though.
On the other hand, if it weren't for a live stream participant sending us the Mad Magazine game, and if it weren't for the opportunity to thereafter play the Mad Magazine game on the live stream, I'm quite confident that Rachel and I would never play the Mad Magazine game.
That's probably true. We're not really game people.
Well, you like games on your phone.
Okay.
I might
that's
like
true.
games too, but we probably don't like playing games together.
No.
You know?
Because, like, I don't really, I have, like, this very competitive driven nature. I'm not competitively driven.
Right, and you worry that, like, I'm going to be upset if you win or something, which is ridiculous.
Well, I think you.
I'd be happy for you if you win. Of course. If we go fishing together, I'd rather Rachel catch a fish than me.
I love you.
I love you too, darling.
I got a winner.
You did?
I did.
Who is it?
Eric Dalestrap.
Oh, it's me you're talking about? Wow. I thought you had met a new friend or something. Winston's mom is here. Hi there. So the Mad Magazine board game sent to you two has finally arrived. Yes, it has finally arrived. We will show it to you in a second. I probably should have made that the thumbnail, but I didn't feel like taking a still photo. It's like if I wanted to be smart about thumbs, I would take a still photo on the camera before before starting a live stream and use that as a thumb. Um, but I'm just adjusting right now to the fact that everything's syncing now through the internet. So I noticed today when I went to push take thumbnail, I accidentally pushed upload thumbnail, and it had that nice picture of Rachel and I from the elderberry house.
Oh.
So that's what the thumbnail is of this stream.
Oh.
I'll show you. Actually, it should be in Goofo. Yeah, it's this one.
Oh, it is nice.
Except because of the, well, it's kind of blurry actually, but it's because of the nature of YouTube thumbs, it chopped it off. There's our halibut. This halibut that you see here before you was the single best fish I have ever
Me
eaten.
too. Yeah. And I like lobster.
Yeah, well,
But it was
I'm talking about fish specifically,
Oh,
not
okay.
shellfish. But I mean, I like this halibut better than I could say easily enough it's the best seafood I ever had. You know,
Yeah.
it was fan-diddly-astic, fan-diddly-tastic. I could show you the other pictures from the dinner. I should do that actually. I haven't looked at them yet either. So that's one picture. There's another picture. Here is one of the dishes that we had. Here's this bread dish that we had, which was actually quite good. Oh, that's... I thought I took more pictures than that. I guess I didn't take as many pictures as I thought. I should have taken more pictures. I didn't get a single good picture of me and Rachel. Ridiculously.
It was hard. It came out a little bit tough on, like, blurred out on mine too because of the lighting.
Yeah, I guess I was too into what we were doing to stop and take as many pictures as I should have, you know. I was too interested in the actual food.
Mm.
Yes, Rachel looked absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
Winston's mom, thank you for noting that. She looked attractive.
Eric looked very attractive as well.
I was listening earlier to your Mike Hart video. At some point when Mike talked about building a table, we both said, "Are you sure you're an INTP, Mike Hart?" Yeah, well, I did receive one comment on that live stream. I'm not sure if this Tom Barry says, anyone know of He's Gone Insane yet would watch till end but have better shit to do. I'm not sure if the he's talking about is me or Mike Hart, or so hard to say when you get a comment like that. It's kind of ambiguous, you know. Bagel? What? Ambiguous, Tiffany. I'm not a big boss.
She does.
I didn't say you have a big puss, Tiffany. I said ambiguous. I'm not a big boss. Y'all talk.
I've missed that. She hasn't told anyone this thing in a while.
I'll have to make that joke into a short, actually. I'll have somebody go, look, this is mine, okay? It's not ambiguous. I'll carve you a big boss. I found that as mine.
Tiffany's got some. That's got some. I can see that happening with Fendi and Yee's lady.
Yeah, exactly. I did note that the person on the grocery list, they had Uncrustables, which I had to respect. That's a person who gets it. Like, hey, there's nothing quite as gratifying as when you're hungry but you don't want to eat and you realize, oh, I just grab an Uncrustable.
Yep.
Well, I have opened the box here. I didn't technically not unbox it. I unwrapped it from its wrapping paper. It came in like, oh no.
Oh, I did it.
Oh, I don't know. I guess. I spelled somewhere around.
Oh
Oh.
no.
I have to get the vacuum here. Anyway, I shouldn't have pulled it out of the trash, obviously, but this is the wrapping paper the thing came in.
Yeah, I was paper.
And this is what the game looks like. Mad Magazine. And you see, it's got the board, the classic board of the board game. So we'll check that out in more detail in a little bit. But my first task here of the live stream, because one of the reasons why live streaming is such a good thing is because it facilitates me doing chores and other tasks. It's like if I'm just doing it by myself to get it done, then that's very boring, right? I might still be able to do it. I got a lot of built-in resistance, but however, if instead of doing something for the purpose of doing it, I'm doing it for the purpose of explaining to you how to do it, even though you don't need any such explanation, nor I'm sure want any such explanation. I like to explain things. So when I do things, rather than doing them to do them, I'd rather do them to demonstrate them and explain things to other people. You might call that FI4, you might call it SE8, I don't know, you might call it a combination of the two of them. I'm not really sure, but the point is, when I'm doing things in front of other people, then I'm not just doing something that needs to be done. I'm putting on an exciting show. And who doesn't want to put on an exciting show? Everybody does. Except for introverts. Okay, so I got my crock pot washed out, baby.
Yeah.
Once you've got your crock pot washed out, now I'm going to walk you through the process of making a corned beef, okay? First thing you're going to want to do is replenish any necessary supplies that you may be missing. For me, at the moment, those necessary supplies that I'm missing comprise a roll of paper towels. So, I'm going to go on a quest right now for a new roll of paper towels. And when I complete that quest, the reward I will get is I will unlock the ability to begin cooking a corned beef. Here we go with the paper towels. I'm going to be smart. I'm going to bring two. because these aren't very big rolls of paper towels. These aren't those double rolls. 4 rolls equals 8. Just stop with that stuff, paper towel makers. Just have paper towel rolls be a uniform size. Have them all be the same size, please. When you just do that, is that too much to ask for? So now I'm going to wet these little suction cups on the bottom of this so that this sticks again. Because periodically you have to re-stick it. Before I re-stick it, wipe this off to make sure there's no dusty particles that interfere with its stickage. Let's see if it works. Yes, it did. Okay, paper towel dispenser stuck properly. It stuck the landing. And crock pot washed. We shall now proceed to today's culinary instructions. How to make a corned beef. Alright. To make a corned beef, you're going to need a few different things. Number 1, ideally, you have a crock pot. If you don't have a crock pot, you could make this the same way in a big pot by simmering on very low heat for a very long time. But you got to be really low on the heat, you know, to match up with a crock pot in terms of gentleness of heating. You probably want to add a little extra liquid into that as well if you're going to do it that way. So now, the next thing you're going to want to do is get out what you might refer to as your key ingredients. No, I'm sorry. Check that. Please cross that off on your notes. Make an adjustment here. What you're going to get first is what you might call your ancillary ingredients. Okay? This is a corned beef. It is not a pot roast. So, what's the difference, Eric? Please explain more to us about where are you going with this, you know? Well, I'll tell you where I'm going. So, a pot roast, being a pot roast is like making the stir fry of crock pots, okay? You could pretty much put anything in there with your beef. Potatoes, carrots, onions, tomatoes, you know, celery, whatever you feel like, it'll probably be fine. On the other hand, today we're not making a pot roast, we're making a corned beef. Corned beefs, in my opinion, one key difference between a corned beef and say a pot roast is a corned beef should not have carrots in it. Carrots are not for corned beef, okay? Corned beef is not for carrots. There's a deep hatred between corned beef and carrots that goes back thousands of years. They'll never see eye to eye. Just get over it already. Now, if you want to put cabbage in your corned beef, that makes perfectly good sense. That's an old standard, you know, that's what you put with corned beef, right? But I'm not gonna include any cabbage in this corned beef because pretty interesting reason here. I don't like cabbage. It's only even remotely acceptable when it's paired with corned beef, ideally on St. Patrick's Day. However, what will go, you know what, we're going to move this part over here. And in this fashion, we shall empower ourselves to build all in one area, right? So, Ingredient 1. This is 1 large red onion. You might note that, hey Eric, that's more violet than red, isn't it? Don't be confused by the violet hue. This is called a red onion. Next, we're going to get out a large cutting knife like this. We're also going to move the camera again. I've got a kind of a nifty idea here. I think you guys are going to like it. I think you're going to say, wow, Eric, that was a nifty idea. Sorry, everyone, for the interruption. Jeffrey and his partner just won Peninsula. Peninsula? They just won the Peninsula Invitational. Peninsula is where my former assistant coach, Scott Wheeler, who's the head coach of Peninsula now, coaches, and where he's won multiple national championships, etc. I love the fact that even though I have nothing to do with coaching this year, that my kid beat Wheeler's kid once again. Just as my kids beat Wheeler's kids when my old boss hired Wheeler back to be the coach of the program, so she fired me for no cause, and under bullshit pretenses that were contrafactual. Anyway, I beat her at the elementary school tournament, and my kids beat her kids, which were Scott Wheeler's kids at the time, at the Nationals that year in quarterfinals, though I think we lost in semis, and to a different school, you know. That was one of the more satisfying wins of my career. This is not one of my wins, because I'm not coaching them actively. They're basically coaching themselves. But regardless, I love it when I beat Wheeler. Just goes to show you, because Wheeler's like the best coach in the country. I mean, you know, you could argue that it's somewhat open to interpretation, yeah, but you know, the results prove that he's among the top 5 coaches in the country. With his in policy for sure. His policy record is stellar at the high school level, which is the top level of coaching, you know. It's a higher level than college. Because debate's taken a lot more seriously in high school than it is in college. So that's fantastic that Jeffrey won the Peninsula Invitational. It's a tough tournament to win. I mean, it's not TOC or anything, but that is not an easy tournament to win. You got all of Wheeler's powerhouse program, plus Harvard Westlake. Like, all the big LA teams are there, you know. Harvard Westlake's tough to beat in policy. They're so technical. They all spread. They're very ESTJ run, like Wheeler's team. But ultimately, you know, King Kong ain't got nothing on me. Wheeler may be like a more successful coach with a longer career than me, sustaining top level success at the top level of debate, you know, but that doesn't change the fact that he's anti-polar, you know. So, like, when we beat him at Nationals that year, I think the only year really we competed directly against each other, when he was at Kudos and I was at Autonomy. But yeah, it's like he doesn't seem to get that. But this is only causes them problems at the most elite against the most elite competition like me. Not that this tournament had anything to do with me at all, but Because he's so ultra prepped for every possible contingency that the only way you can beat him, realistically, and his kids, is to take the approach that I do, which is you make the best case you can based on what's most true and correct, rather than thinking it's just all like a game or whatever. So anyway, I'm really happy that Jeffrey and his partner beat Wheeler's kids at their own invitational. That makes me super happy. Another just part of my coaching legacy, really. You know, I haven't talked to Jeffrey about this year's topic at all or anything. So this potato here is a little squishy. I'm gonna throw this one away. But of course, Jeffrey is an ENTP, and he was coached by me, and he knows all about what it means to be an ENTP too, because I talked to him about it plenty. And I'm very proud of him. What a good job he did. So anyway, let's get back to the task at hand here. I got distracted by that nice phone call from Jeffrey's mom. What you gotta add before you do anything else is you add your onions, your potatoes. You don't have to chop them as small as I was chopping them right there. It's probably a little too small to chop. It depends on your own personal preference in potato chunk size. Personally, I just think large potato chunks are a sign of a lazy chef. Because when I have large potato chunks, that's exactly what it means. So I'm going to cut them into at least quarters, even though, yes, true, these are very small potatoes. And they will certainly soften up in the cooking process. But I don't think they're small enough. So one of the things that chopping a potato does is it empowers you to ensmallen the potato. From your new perspective, you now have not one potato, but say 4 to 8 bites of potato. And as quickly and as simply as that, you realize something important. I should cut my potatoes before I cook them. Later, you go out with a friend to have coffee. Sure, it's kind of late to get coffee, but you think, what the heck? I'm gonna live a little. And while there, you share with your friend a story of how you learned something important today, and how from now on, you too will cut your potatoes before cooking them. Wow, that's a heartwarming story, Jan. Thanks, Gary. I learned it at summer camp one year. We were telling stories around the campfire. That's the story someone told. I've never forgotten it since that day. It was a magical moment for me. I bet so, Jan. Thanks, Gary. Anyway, thanks, Gary and Jan. I appreciate your input here. We'll move back on to the potatoes now. Gary and Jan are, I wouldn't exactly call them necessary team members, but it's nice to have them around. They chime in periodically, offer their thoughts, contribute in their own unique Gary and Jan kind of way. This is a strange looking potato. It looks very much like a fruit. That's no fruit, Gary. I agree, Jan. That's no fruit. They're chiming Gary and Jan again. Color commentating this process that I'm already color commentating with additional color commentation. Comment? Additional color comment? Commentating? Hard to say what the correct verb is without asking a dictionary. I don't think a dictionary would necessarily tell you that. Probably it would. You could probably come to the correct conclusion regarding that by looking at the definitions. But it's really more of a usage question than it is a definitional question precisely. I mean, I think the usage question comes down to a definitional question. But it's not always the case with usage questions. You know, sometimes things are used, like literally is used to mean figuratively, that you can't meaningfully resolve simply by reading definitions of things. I mean, you could, but then you'd be guilty of hasty resolution. Bum, 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 bum. Hasty resolution on its way to hastily resolve what's bothering you today. Hasty resolution, party go. Okay, well, I have just 2 potatoes left, but I feel like that's the amount of potatoes I want to have in here. But it seems foolhardy to not put these last 2 potatoes in. I hope I'm not over potatoing things. I'm going to cut these last 2 potatoes into very small pieces in hopes that that kind of masks their additional quantity in the overall mixture, or at least makes me less aware of it. Alright. Makes it easier for me to lie to myself about whether I have the right amount of potatoes. And you know, when I was a little kid, and people asked me what were my dreams in life, I said, well, someday I hope to lie to myself about potatoes. Like a lot of kids, that was one of my big dreams. Alright, now that we have all the potatoes in the crock pot on top of the onions, we're going to get the star of the show. But Eric, what is the star of the show? You cry? Well, it's this bad boy. I'm a corned beef brisket. Rub some peppers in my shank. Okay, corned beef biscuit, classic flat cut, papain free. I don't know what papain is, but this doesn't have any of it in it, so that's good. If papain is bad, it's conditionally a good thing, assuming papain is bad. If they're just stuttering and saying pain, well then I'm not going to object to that. Papain. Anybody with a free hand wants to Google it, be my guest, and with my appreciation, should you share the results with me. Okay, here we go. We're going to get meow, 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 like that. And meow, 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 meow. Pour all the blood out. We don't need the blood. Okay, corned beef. You go just like that. Now, it does seem like it's a little tall. Right? So my fears regarding the potatoes have been borne out perhaps. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to dig a little hole in the middle. Push it down into the hole a bit. And there, that should be fine. Okay, great. Now we're winning with victory. I'm going to clean up the blood. from the stovetop and anywhere else it may have fallen. And take this package, put this in the trash over here. I should bring this trash can with me. I should have learned that by now. But I'm a bit of a slow learner. So, we put onions, potatoes, corned beef in there so far. There's a couple of other things I want to put into here. And thing number one of those couple of other things I am hunting for with my eyes right now. See if I can locate it. Rachel? I guess she's not within shouting distance. Okay. Well, I guess let's forego that since I don't know where it is at the moment. Oh, where could that thing I thought we got get be? Maybe we didn't get it. I don't remember. Busy. Time for you to go in the garage, busies. I don't know where the garlic is. So I thought we got this jar of like pre-chopped up garlic, but it's not in the fridge. Maybe Rachel put it away because when you buy it, before you open it, it doesn't have to be refrigerated. So maybe Rachel put it up here or over here. I mean that jar of chopped up garlic? Oh, in the pantry? Okay. Oops, that's not the light I need to turn on. Silly air. Chopped up garlic, it got to be a twist. Chopped up garlic has such a simple taste. Yes, I did, my darling. Thank you. So it was in the pantry. A perfectly logical place for it to be. Now we're going to scoop some garlic out of the jar with our spoon and say yar yar. You dirty rat. Meow what? Alright. Now there's some garlic I put in there. That should be sufficient garlic for anybody who likes garlic. You might say that's maybe too much garlic. Or, it'll soften as it cooks, like the flavor of it. So then we got to put in this flavor packet. This is a key ingredient to corned beef, is your flavor packet. Okay, flavor packet engaged. Now, we're gonna put some of these dried onions. Okay. And we will put a little bit of salt for the potatoes, especially. Alright. And then we've got to get these. These are cans of beef broth. You're supposed to put in 4 cups of beef broth, but I'm going to put in 6 cups of beef broth. Why? Because I'm a broth rebel. When it's come to broth related matters, I've always rebelled. Maybe I always will. That's if I can fit 6 cups in. It may only hold 4 cups. It should hold 6 cups. We'll find out. Back in high school, I had a rock band called David Lee Broth. And we exclusively played songs about broth. That's how much of a broth rebel I am. We had one song called Beef Broth, another one called Vegetable Broth, another one called Chicken Broth. We had one called Beef and Chicken Broth Combined. And one called Vegetable Chicken Double Broth. And yet another called All Broth. The Brothel. The Brothel? The Brothel of Broths. Okay. Has this been on warm the whole time? My goodness gracious, I left this thing on warm for a long time. Okay. Medea impression accomplished. She's going to put the lid on the crock pot. And we're just going to let that delicious corned beef just nestle away in its tender juices all night long. Okay? Just like I do every night. I nestle in my own tender juices all night long until the morning sunshine awakens my angel eyes with its sparkle dust. That's how I roll, and yeah, it's true. I'm a role model for you. You see Eric do it, it's probably a good idea. At least some of the time, occasionally. Okay. If you don't see Eric do it, it's probably too risky for you to attempt. Well, here's the thing. We don't know what's going on. Oh, so this is a different one. Or this is the second one. Well, it came really fast, then. Well, this person obviously did a better job of being an email seller than the previous one, apparently. Even though they were in denial, I still mailed their dumbass passport stuff. I didn't have to pay any postage or anything. I just explained to the post office what happened. It had postage on both sides of it, one postage to get to me and one postage to get to where we're supposed to go. So they just took it away from me and said, yeah, okay, well, we will mail this. She started explaining to me, well, if you'd like to file a claim regarding the thing that you didn't get, that's not why I'm here. I'm not here to complain about the thing I didn't get. I'm just explaining what happened to you. Like why I got this. I figure you'd want to know why I got this, because I'm obviously not a passport processing office. Maybe you don't care why I got this. Maybe my explanation to the post office lady was unnecessary. I think she thought that I was saying, hey, I never got my thing. I'm complaining about that. That's not what I was doing. I was just trying to be a good Samaritan and mail somebody else's mail that went to the wrong place. Who you talking about, Willis? Who are you talking about, Willis? Who are you talking about this time? Who are you talking about, Willis? Will you enjoy this fun rhyme? Yeah, I did show it. I showed the game, what it looks like. If Rachel is feeling up for it, if not, we could always postpone it to another night. I know I already put the case against non-resolutional theory. I love debate jargon. I love debate jargon. I suspect that what they mean there is the case against using policy theory arguments in LD in public forum. That's what they mean by that. They're using debate jargon to make it a little less easy to understand, but theory arguments from policy debate, basically they've tried over the years to make debate less technical, or to support non-technical debate formats. The problem is that debate is a zero-sum process. So obviously, when you set up public forum at first and explicitly say it's going to be debated in front of lay judges, and there's not supposed to be any spreading, it's not supposed to be policy debate, right? Well, over the years, what happens? You get policy creep because the losing policy debaters are still better probably than many or most of the winning PF debaters, depending. It's like PF is a different format. It's got specialists who are really kick ass at it. But anyway, obviously, debaters who understand debate better, who understand debate the most, are going to be policy debaters because it's the everything goes format. And because they understand debate better, they're going to be strategically positioned to win public forum rounds or Lincoln Douglas rounds if they go back down a level, Or accordingly, you're going to see increasingly more policy debate stuff in both of the other two formats, even though those other two formats are supposed to be excluding some of the depth and breadth of debate. You can't exclude the best stuff, right? If you have a zero-sum thing, kids want to win. I keep losing. Well, why don't you guys try a public forum tournament, Usually policy debaters don't want to do that because they feel it's beneath them. But if the tournament's big enough, they'll be like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's see if we can win PF. And what are they going to bring into the PF round? Everything they know about public forum debate, about debate from policy debate. They can't unknow things that they've learned that are useful and effective and powerful reasoning arguments and stuff like that. It's just idiots. Idiots trying to make, can't we have a debate format for idiots? No. Yeah, you can. It's called Congress. Student Congress is the idiot form of debate. Okay, it's not even a debate. It's just people taking turns making speeches that may or may not even be responsive to what other speakers said. And you got other dumbass pseudo debate things like Model UN, right? That aren't real. Debate is more real than the realest shit in the world. Braulio FCC, I hereby give you a shout out. I'm sorry you've been having a bad day, and I'm sorry it took me a full 20 minutes for me to shout you out. Because I was busy. I was busy cooking and stuff, I do give him a shout out now. I'm sorry it took so long. If you're still here. If you're not, I'm really sorry that I didn't give you a shout out you asked for before I get him. Well, in one regard, I knew it was going to be like backwards land game, right? So the one thing I noted about it when I opened it was the objective in the game is to lose all your money. And I guess that person wins. But I didn't look at it any further than that, really. Where did I hang my Jaqueta? Jaqueta de Enrico, as it's known in the Dominican Republic. Anyway, I'm not sure. Rich is going to have to give me a little bit of input here as to whether she doesn't really want to do that, and as far as she's upstairs, in which case we'll just put off playing the Mad Magazine game some other day if she doesn't feel like it right now. Or if she's doing something upstairs or whatever. Yeah, I'm kind of slow. You're talking about me. That's basically true about me, but I played a lot even after that incident happened where people got mad at me. I mean, that was just this one occasion. I played a lot of pickup basketball. I was pretty effective. Like I was good at rebounding because I'm tall, but also because I can slither between people. People have trouble boxing me out. I can obviously like make layups and stuff some of the time. I'm not a very good shooter, but I'll occasionally hit a jump shot. I'm a pretty good defender, even against people who are pretty good. I'm a good shot blocker, you know. Obviously having a height advantage it enables you to be a good shot blocker, but it takes more than just having a height advantage to be a good shot blocker. I was always good at blocking shots. Do you like solving? Do I have my glasses with me? Of course not. Eric. Why do you have to be such a schmear all of the time? So Rachel's obviously not listening to this right now, or she would have responded to the thing about the Mad Magazine game. I'll have to ask her directly. First I will get my glasses, yeah. Then I will put them on my face. Do I like solving mysteries? Well, I like solving mysteries well enough to go get my glasses to solve this mystery. Check the chat. You gotta check the chat. But check the chat. Oh yeah, sure, we can put it off, no problem. So we are not going to play that right now. Oh, no problem, Darlie. Sorry I didn't see your reply. I figured that was the case. I didn't. When I suggested we do this, I got this reply. That's usually not a good sign with Rachel. Solve Crook's radio meter? I don't even know what that is. Each player starts with $10,000. The board is Monopoly-like, with 2 inner tracks that can also be used. Play is counterclockwise, and you must roll the dice with your left hand. Well, it's backwards land. Certain spaces and the ever-present cards send you elsewhere. Make you pay money, good. Make you get money, bad. Switch seats with someone else or exchange money with another player. Unsolved old physics mystery, huh? It's true. Damn is mad backwards. Alright, so I guess that's not what I'm doing this evening. And that's fine. I've got this kind of double energy right now. It stems both from just being an Adderall, but also from just things happening, you know. Feels like life's moving again after. Obviously, we got married, and we moved in. It's hard to say that this last year felt like a still year when I look at all the things that happened, but it did. It felt like a still year to me. Like 2023 for me was a year in which I recovered from 2022. Getting married was part of that recovering from 2022. Chilling a lot was part of that recovery. Being kind of indulgent for a while was part of that recovery, I guess. Although now that I've sort of like, okay, it's January 2024 now, I feel like, boy, I wish I had figured all this stuff out sooner. But anyway, I've got a good plan of action here. It's going to be workable for us. It's going to ensure that we're running at least a little bit of a positive cash flow with the vacation rentals, have the equity in 4 total properties, and I'll feel safe. I mean, I get it. I'm already way more safe than most people. It's ridiculous for me to feel unsafe at all, but I got to do this right, and I can't fuck it up, you know. It's easy to imagine that I could have fucked it up already, but I didn't. So we're gonna be okay. It's gonna take about a year, I think, to get 3 rentals up and running. But we should be able to do it. And I'm open to the possibility of getting one more property that has 2 rentals on it. That's certainly an acceptable, probably a preferable, in fact, option. So anyway, it feels like a huge load off my shoulders. I looked at a bunch of papers that we got in the mail about different accounts and trouble. Your food's right here, man. There you go, mister. I'm not going in to watch you eat. It's a toy that nobody knows exactly how it works. I'm intrigued. Go ahead, let me move this for you. Here, there you go. What a simple solution to the watch the cat eat problem, right? Just move the food over next to you. Doesn't take a genius to come up with that. This product, also known as a light mill, consists of a set of vanes. Each vane is shiny on one side, blackened on the other, and mounted on a spindle in an evacuated glass bulb. When exposed to the sun or other intense light, the vanes begin to rotate. By studying the rotation intensely, students can measure electromagnetic radiation and witness an eye-catching demonstration simultaneously. They don't know how it works. Well, presumably, light waves in a vacuum exert some tiny amount of force, right? Because the light's coming more from one direction than another. That's the only explanation for it that I can think of. They're called sun particles. Okay, sun particles then. Sun particles it is. Tesla was fascinated by radiant energy and its free energy possibilities. He called the Crookes radiometer, a device which has vanes that spin in a vacuum when exposed to radiant energy, a beautiful invention. He believed that it would become possible to harness energy directly by connecting to the very wheelwork of nature. This seems like a very straightforward design and would seem to fulfill alternative energy and the secret of Nazi flying saucers. Yeah, they can't find anything that can explain the quantity of force. Well, I mean, in a vacuum, it only takes the tiniest fraction of force to make something start spinning around, right? Just a little, yeah, it's fine to make it go spin around in a vacuum. There's no drag. I guess there's going to be some, it's not going to, I mean, obviously, whatever it's spinning on, there's going to be some drag there, but it accelerates fast. Huh. I'll have to read more about this, Carlos Paiva. So, is there some reason why it does it not scale? Is that why we can't use that as an energy source, or it just, the drag on? I need a certain level of vacuum to make it work. Huh. Well, obviously, the force has to be stronger than the resistance of the spinning thing and the ball bearings or whatever it's in. Is SI or lack thereof responsible for over documenting with notes? You mean like over notating a text or something? Not. I mean, I'd say that has to do with um, a lack of NI. You don't know what parts to take notes about. You can't tell what's important or most relevant. An orbital repulsion force is proposed in the study. Only a specific range works. Huh. A low pressure glass bulb containing a set of vanes mounted on a low friction spindle inside. Each vane. The light mill inventor Crookes incorrectly suggested that the force was due to the pressure of photons predicted by James Clerk Maxwell. So the Crookes had the same exact explanation as I did. Well known for his equations of electromagnetism. If this is true, a faster rotation should be observed with better vacuum in the bulb. It turned out that the best result is observed at a pressure around 1 Pascal. The vanes stay motionless in a hard vacuumed bulb. Huh. There were numerous theories trying to establish an unbalanced pressure between black and white sides of the vein or over the edges. One proposal is that air molecules hitting the warmer side of the vein will pick up some of the heat bouncing off the vein with increased speed. The problem with the idea is that while the faster moving molecules produce more force, they also do a better job of colliding and preventing incoming air molecules from reaching the vein, so the net force on the vein should be the same as the air pressure. Albert Einstein showed that the two pressures do not cancel out exactly at the edges of the veins because of the temperature difference there. However, the force predicted by Einstein would be barely enough to move the veins. A more complicated model called thermal creep suggests air creeps across the edges of the veins from the white side to the black side. This creates a high pressure on the black side that pushes the veins forward. The problem that all air based theories fail to address is how to create the driving force at the thermal equilibrium. Left in an intense light source such as sunlight, a mill will reach an equilibrium sooner or later. By that time, the absorption and radiation on each, no matter black or white side, are at the same level. The black side absorbs light more effectively and also radiates at the same efficiency. Total heat flux, including both reflection and radiation from each side, is the same as the incoming flux. The air is heated by the same amount of energy on either side. For a given body of air, its pressure is a measurement of average kinetic energy level, which is determined by the ambient radiation level. Pressure on the two sides of a vein should be the same. Thus, there is no pressure difference to drive the veins. Focused light experiment. To turn the mill forwards, the torch was pointed and focused on the black side. The motionless vein started moving immediately. It completed the first cycle in less than 5 seconds. Within a minute, the rotation reached the highest speed, about 2 cycles per second. The results are similar to the experiments with non-focused light sources. Next, the torch was focused on the white side of the vein so that the light ray was perpendicular to the surface of the vein to avoid reflecting on the black side of the adjacent vein. The vein stayed motionless no matter how long the light was kept on. So the light has to hit the black side. The purpose for using a focused light was to test if there is enough driving force in the air pressure to move the veins. Avoiding any reflection onto the black sides isolates the influences of other factors that the black sides might have. As the light focused on the white sides, the air near the white side was doubly heated by both the directed and reflected photons, giving it enough time that the air should be heated, creating some kind of aerodynamic force to move the veins. The fact that the veins did not move indicates that there was not enough driving force to overcome static friction. At a pressure of 1 Pascal, which is about 10 to the 6th of the pressure at 10 to the negative 6 of the pressure of sea level. So it's equivalent to the pressure at the top of the mesosphere at an altitude of 80 kilometers above the Earth. This is where an airplane is less efficient than a rocket, where the rocket is not driven by the air pressure, but the momentum created through ejecting high-speed molecules. In the other direction, the torch was pointed to a single black vein, and the push force was so strong that the vein was moved spontaneously without having a waiting time for the air to warm up, indicating the driving force may result from interactions other than air pressure. Huh. Upon absorption of energy or photons, an electron in an atom jumps to a higher orbital, known as an orbital jump, quantum jump, or atomic electron transition. The process of orbital jump is still under active research. It appears spontaneous as an electron jumps from one energy level to another, typically in nanoseconds or less. Because an orbital jump is sudden, it may exert a repulsion force to an object next to the atom. So if you create exactly the right conditions such that the energy change creates an orbital shift at the atomic level that produces a propulsion force, well, I guess that makes some sense. But I don't know how you'd establish that. Like, how would you falsify that hypothesis? I'm not sure. So what's interesting is with the focus beam test, if you shine a light on the white side, it doesn't move. Um, okay, well maybe there's a good way to test it. Then I don't know. I'm not that super high up on my physics knowledge. I'm not gonna win a physics pedantry contest. Uh, it's interesting though. I think it's interesting when they have things they can't quite explain, like the Mbimba effect or whatever it's called. Mpimba effect. Do you know about that? The Mpimba effect is a name given to the observation that a liquid, typically water, which is initially hot, can freeze faster than the same liquid which begins cold under otherwise similar circumstances. And of course, this violates one of the laws of thermodynamics, right? So the crazy thing is, it was finally accepted as a real phenomenon in 1963, though humans have known about this forever, right? People have known forever that if you freeze hot water, it'll freeze faster than freezing cold water or room temperature water. And you'll see here on this plot, you've got when you're cooling a sample that starts at 53 degrees Celsius, it freezes sooner than a sample that starts at 21 degrees Celsius. Uh, by a fairly, by a statistically significant amount. The thing is, Aristotle said it was common knowledge in ancient times, but modern scientists didn't believe in it because it violates some law of thermodynamics. But Tanzanian scientist Erasto Bartholomew Mpimba described it in 1963 as a high school student. The phenomenon, which is taken to mean hot water freezes faster than cold, is difficult to reproduce or confirm because it is ill-defined. Monwia Zhang proposed a more precise wording. There exists a set of initial parameters and a pair of temperatures such that given two bodies of water identical in these parameters and differing only in the initial uniform temperatures, the hot one will freeze sooner. Even with Zhang's definition, it is not clear whether freezing refers to the point at which water forms a visible surface layer of ice, the point at which the entire volume of water becomes a solid block of ice, or when the water reaches 0 degrees Celsius. Zhang's definition suggests simple ways in which the effect might be observed, such as if a warmer temperature melts the frost on a cooling surface, thereby increasing thermal conductivity between the cooling water and the water container. Alternatively, the Mpimba effect may not be evident in situations and under circumstances that at first seem to qualify. So this is another thing that is not has not been adequately explained by science. Here's what Descartes said about it. One can see by experience that water that has been kept on a fire for a long time freezes faster than other. The reason being that those of its particles that are least able to stop bending evaporate while the water is being heated. Bending particles is Rene Descartes' explanation. Scottish scientist Joseph Black investigated a special case of the phenomenon by comparing previously boiled water with unboiled water. He found that the previously boiled water froze more quickly, even though they started at the same temperature. Evaporation was controlled for. He discussed the influence of stirring on the results of the experiment, noting that stirring the unboiled water led it to freezing at the same time as the previously boiled water, and also noted that stirring the very cold unboiled water led to immediate freezing. Hmm. Joseph Black then discussed Daniel Gabriel Fahrenheit's description of supercooling of water, arguing that the previously boiled water could not be as readily supercooled. Interesting. This is a great story. So, the headmaster invited Dr. Dennis Osborne from the University College to give a lecture on physics. After the lecture, Mpemba asked him, if you take two similar containers with equal volumes of water, one at 35 degrees Celsius, 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and the other at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and put them in a freezer, the one that started at 212 freezes first. Why? Mpemba was at first ridiculed by both his classmates and his teacher. After initial consternation, however, Osborne experimented on the issue back at his workplace and confirmed Mpemba's finding. They published the results together in 1969 while Mpemba was studying at the College of African Wildlife Management. I guess he went into wildlife management. He's like, I'll manage animals. Hysterical people calm down sooner and faster than mildly annoyed people. What about the previously boiled stuff? It's not still perturbed, is it? Okay, but what about the previously boiled part, right? Right, sure. When it's boiling, it's a perturbation. When you let it get cold again, though, it's no longer perturbed. So now it's returned to the state of the same temperature as this water that didn't get boiled. Why are they different now? Well, yes, it was perturbed, but it's no longer perturbed, right? It's back at an equilibrium state of rest. The structure of the molecules changes when you boil it. Do the H's become lowercase? I hope that's what happens. I'd like to think that's what happens when I boil water. All of the H's in H2O become lowercase. I solved it. I've solved the problem. And obviously, lowercase h's are easier to freeze because they aren't as large as uppercase h's. There. I figured it out, everybody. I solved the Mpemba effect. Well, you may say it's easy enough to figure out with your perturbation explanation, but I think you should keep your perturbation activities to yourself, young man. You shouldn't perturbate in front of other people. And additionally, I agree with Wikipedia, which says there's no single explanation for this. Because if you were right about the perturbation, then they should be able to nail down like exactly what the circumstances are that change this effect so much. Like why container matters so much. Why a bunch of other things. But my explanation is the best one because it makes intuitive sense. Obviously, whatever it is you're trying to freeze, it's going to freeze faster if it's smaller and take longer to freeze if it's bigger. Lowercase h's are smaller than uppercase h's. Ergo, boiling gets rid of capital letters. H's anyway. O's, you'd have to boil it at thousands and thousands of degrees to get your O's to be lowercase. And even then, they might turn into zeros. But the other thing about that freezing thing is it's like I get it might work if you're arguing meow meow and you're on some sort of razor thin margin. But you're talking about water that's 212 degrees goes in the freezer at the same time as water that's 100 degrees. Whatever happened to the law of thermodynamics? I don't remember which one it is, but and I don't think it has to have been boiled either. In general, it's the case that under certain conditions, certain temperatures, with certain two temperatures, hotter water will freeze faster, whether it's been boiled or not. Now, sure, obviously, being warmer means its atoms or whatever molecules are more agitated, but so it's like that should take them. That means it should take them longer to slow down, not less time. Like if Carlos Paella and I were to both get into a walk-in freezer and um, I came in on the verge of heat stroke, like um, or at least very hot. I've been out jogging in the hot afternoon sun. I was blazing hot. Obviously, he, assuming we both go in with equal amount of sweat or lack thereof on us, he would freeze faster than me because I have a little cushion of heat to go down to before I'm regular temperature, and he doesn't. But Carlos is 500 pounds. Well, then he's bigger. So that's not the same. We'd have to be the same exact size. But you could imagine it with just yourself then. You have your two index fingers, right? You put one in like several pairs of gloves until your hand's super hot. And the other one you keep outside. And then you take your glove and you put your hot finger in into some ice and your cold finger. Which one's gonna freeze faster? Your cold finger, obviously. Hot finger, cold finger seems like an interesting sex game. You want the hot finger or the cold finger? What did you guys do last night? We played hot finger, cold finger. Hot finger, cold finger, Goldilocks finger. Hot finger, cold finger is like an adult version of red light, green light. Okay. So, hi Boba. Eric plugged in earlier. Oh yeah, I did. I plugged in the guitar earlier. And I rock and roll with my fingers. Well, that's my point. Now, we do know this. It's possible to deep fry ice cream. So, obviously, coldness has a staying power, right? In the middle of it. It's resistant to hotness on the outside of it. I don't know what that informs us about the Mpemba effect, but I just thought I'd mention it. If you get a ball of something very cold, you can deep fry it and have the center still be frozen while the batter is all cooked around the outside of it. So it just goes to show you the world is full of mysteries that none of us will ever figure out. That's why ghosts. There, I just proved ghosts. The reason when hot water freezes faster than cold water, it's because the hot water has ghosts in it and they suck up a lot of the heat. Of course, the ghosts then leave before the water freezes, taking even more heat with them. Ghosts are turned off by cold water, but they're attracted to hot water. That's a perfectly good explanation, if you ask me. Number one, it's consistent with what we already know about ghosts. Number two, it fully explains the Mpemba effect. And number three, it teaches us something new about ghosts, namely that they like hot water but not cold water. Right, but cooling down is the process of slowing down. So, why should things that are moving faster slow down quicker than things that are moving slower? Sometimes figuring out a mystery can ruin it, don't you think? Yes, something inertia I think is right, Fly Guy. Something inertia and maybe EMC squared. We'll forget the equal sign. We don't need it. Just EMC squared plus inertia equals Mpemba effect. I like it. Tossing a little quantum womb, we've got a bestseller on our hands. So, anywho, I am interested in this vacuum thing. If they decelerate faster. But remember, well, sure, but why should cold water decelerate less quickly or more quickly than hot water? That's the question. Okay, MB, it's more simple than what I'm thinking. Well, I mean, if it's so simple, why isn't there already an explanation for it that makes good sense? Bigger differential. All right, well, maybe you understand the reason for it, but I don't feel like I understand the reason for it. It seems so counterintuitive. But I accept that it does, in fact, happen, that it's reality, you know? Yeah. And, you know, philosophers or whatever have been using this as an example consistent with their bullshit physics philosophy stuff for millennia. So much so that in modern times, once we had laws of thermodynamics, people just thought, well, that's just not true. That can't be true. There's no way that's true. And we just dismissed all of these people like Aristotle, Descartes, and a bunch of other people um, who insisted that, in fact, this was the case. We dismissed millennia of human thinkers, millennia of human thinkers, because it just didn't make any sense, right? I wish we'd do that with evolution. I've asked it now twice, this question, just out of curiosity as to how people will answer it. I asked, like, you know, a TE question in a typing session, like, what do you think about solving the problem of plastics in our oceans? They said whatever. And then I was like, do you think it's possible maybe if we just wait that animals will evolve to eat plastic? And they're like, maybe, yeah. I mean, that certainly is possible. No, it's not possible. Animals evolving to eat plastic. What kind of insanity is that? It's like if animals could evolve to eat anything, then why aren't there bears that eat rocks? You know? It's like obviously being able to eat not food things would be a huge evolutionary advantage. That's how bamboozled everybody has become by evolution. If you ask people whether animals might evolve so they can eat plastic, they'll be like, yeah, maybe that's probably gonna happen, I guess. Even though there's no indication whatsoever of any animals doing anything with plastics except being horribly killed by them. Or at least being made sick, you know. Okay, well, some animals may eat rocks to aid digestion, but the reason they eat those rocks to aid digestion is because those rocks are not able to be digested. If you're gonna digest my rocks, then you better have some powerful stomach acid. Some animals eat plastic like that too to help with digestion. Well, then they're eating salt. Okay, that's not eating a rock. That's licking a rock to eat salt. Like, for example, when I lick my plate, I'm not eating a plate. I mean, I don't doubt that some birds say, this piece of plastic seems like a rock to me and eat it. But at best, it doesn't do any harm. At worst, they digest some of the plastic. They're certainly not evolving into an animal that gains nutrition from plastic. They'll also use plastic to make their nests and then freeze to death because it doesn't provide adequate insulation. That doesn't mean they're evolving to use plastics to make nests. It means they use whatever to make nests. Unfortunately, plastics don't make a good nest building material. Oh yeah, I like chewing on the plastic caps of pens too. On all my pens, like the regular ballpoint pens that have that little circle on the back of them, I'd always end up chewing that little circle out and then chewing up that little circle. Yeah, I was a big pen eater, pen chewer, pen biter, pencil biter, a little bit less so. I didn't like the yellow paint on the pencils. They have phytoestrogens. Phytoestrogens are estrogens that glow in the dark, like phytoplankton. What age are you no longer called a kid? I'll tell you when I get there. Oh, xenoestrogens. So you mean their estrogen comes from aliens? I don't know. Aliens are on a hot hospital. I guess that's what all the probing's for. To insert people insert into people their alien estrogen. And there you go. Now you're all filled to the brim with alien estrogen. Please go about your business as normal. When I think it's weird if a younger person called me a kid, I mean, no, I wouldn't think it was weird. I would think it was whatever it was. Like if they said, ha ha ha, you're such a kid, I would just say, okay, well, they're commenting on my lovable childlike nature. If they said, now listen here, kid, then I think they were just trying to purposely be disrespectful and, way off the mark about what's going to work with me. Scientology. Oh, so there's xenoestrogens. Wow. Which are also xenoestrogens, of course, because Xenu's not native to Earth. He evolved on the surface of some sun in a distant galaxy. I tell you what's really tripping me out, and I hope they do enough studies to confirm or deny this. This idea that there might be life on Venus in this thin band of the atmosphere that happens to be sort of in the Goldilocks zone. It's just like this thin band of Venus's atmosphere where it's, the temperature and conditions, the range mimic those of Earth. And there's some indication that there may be some kind of biological thing living in that band of atmosphere. It would be, like maybe like the equivalent of airborne plankton or something. It's not like birds flying around or whatever. But still, that seems crazy to me to imagine that there's life on Venus. Hey, little homie, I know you don't know me, but my name is Wendy, and I like to blow up trees. That's probably not the most efficient way to get a tree down. You could just use a chainsaw. Probably be a little faster. But, who am I to judge? It's your tree, it's your explosives, you go ahead and do it. Oh, blow trees, not blow up trees. Fine. Are you okay for people to take random clips and make stuff out of them, like your videos? Oh, yeah, sure, of course. I, I get, like, alerted on the back side if I go to that part of it that somebody's used a clip of your video. And then it says, what do you want to do? I say nothing. Good for them. Thank you to them for using it. But I've had people, I think it was Show Media, tell me that that he had a clips channel of me that got taken down. So I don't know what their rules are regarding that. But I had nothing to do with that. I didn't complain about it at all or anything. But yeah, nobody's gonna get any copyright shit from me. With a, unless there's some egregious thing like somebody's claiming a song I wrote that they wrote it, that would be a problem. If they just fail to attribute the cover to me, whatever. If I don't hear them publicly claim ownership/authorship of it, then what the fuck do I care? I don't. I mean, Carlos Paiva, you ask why, there's probably life all over the place in the universe. Well, we haven't seen any indication of it anywhere other than Earth yet. We have no definitive proof of any life existing anywhere other than Earth yet. So if Venus pans out, that would be the first extraterrestrial life in the universe that we've determined actually exists. To me, I think it's a pretty straightforward binary. Either life exists only on Earth, or life's all over the place, right? So for me, if Venus has life on it, then that means there's life all over the universe. But I actually don't believe that the preponderance of the evidence suggests that there's life all over the universe. I think the preponderance of the evidence suggests that only life exists on Earth. If there were life all over the universe, you'd expect to see a greater frequency, probably, of intelligent life. And we haven't encountered any indication of that yet, at least through Earth technologies. However, I did see a pretty good breakdown of how, even if it is the case that life's all over the place, if intelligent life, like on Earth, represents a small enough fraction of total life, we still probably wouldn't ever see any signs of it due to the galactic timescales, You'd have to both be, you'd have to hit yourselves both, you'd have to hit the other civilization at a certain time lag, right? Like your civilization has to be at a time when it's sending out a lot of signals into space at Mia time, and then, 40 million years later, when the signal reaches Earth, it has to be at that moment of being able to receive it, right? And if you think about how long we've been able to receive signals like that, 100 years, 200 years, maybe. And we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but there's no reason to believe that human civilization will stretch on from now until eternity. It's unlikely, though not impossible to imagine. It's hard to say whether we'll survive the sun exploding. We may not survive destroying our planet, But that one, it could get pretty inhospitable, and we could probably still eke out a survival. Most life is probably not at the surface of the planet. Well, yeah, many planets do have habitable zones, but we need to confirm that habitable zones are in fact inhabited on other planets than Earth. That's yet to be confirmed. So, uh, just because Earth has life and is Earth-like doesn't mean that other planets that are Earth-like in terms of distance from the sun, uh, presence of an atmosphere, etc., things that don't necessarily link to biologics anyway. We don't have any real reason to believe that life's going to occur in those places as well, because that notion is predicated on the idea that life evolves, that life somehow sparks into existence via chemical slash electrical reactions on the surface planet among a bunch of things that are not life, that somehow sparks it into living all of a sudden out of not being alive. And that then that life evolves to occupy environmental niches. If you don't believe in evolution, and no intelligent person should, then there's very little reason to conclude that any planet with habitable zones is going to have life on it. Until at least, but on the other hand, if I see a single other example of a planet with life on it that's definitive, then that would be pretty convincing that life exists wherever it can. It's still not a good explanation for I mean, I still wouldn't have any explanation as to why or where it comes from. That thing is like, you can try to push back the question as far as you can. You could say space surviving biologics came here from somewhere else. That would be fine to explain the appearance of life on a given planet. But that's just pushing the question back, because you still have the fundamental question, well, where did it initially start and how? How did we go from inanimate objects into the most primitive form of agent? Something that, how do we go from things that aren't alive and have never been alive, just, elements and shit? How do you go from that to there being life? There's certainly no explanation for it. If you want to convince me of evolution, forget about the evolution part. Demonstrate to me turning inanimate objects into life via chemical reactions and electrical impulses and stuff. I mean, that's the thing that evolution is predicated on, right? Hey, GKP. We have another person arriving who greets me as old man. I don't know if there's an epidemic of that or if the same person is coming back and just utterly lacking in any ideas besides that one. I'm not sure. My bad, old man. You're bad for what? You can call me old man if you want. And I'll call you young lady. How about that? Does that sound good to you, young lady? Actually, maybe I'll give you a name. I'll be more respectful. I'll call you Fanny Fanny Hole. Kind of like Fanny Hill. You could be Fanny Hole. My name, incidentally, on a totally unrelated matter, is Eric. You know, rhymes with Derek, and rhymes with Schmerich, and a number of other words like that. Sounds great, old man. Okay, thanks. I'm glad you approve. So, anyway, I was actually talking with Rachel about that today. In the car. I don't remember how it came up exactly. Oh, right. We went to the gravel store and I was loading gravel into the back of the car. These bags of all-purpose gravel. And one of the guys who worked there, he's a younger guy, he's probably like 30 or something. Late 20s maybe. He came over and said, "Hey, let me get that for you," and put it in the back of the car. I said, "Oh, thanks a lot. Wow, that's very nice of you." And then when I got in the car, I said to Rachel, I'm like, this is one of the advantages of looking old. Young people are happy to help you lift all-purpose gravel into the car. Of course, I could lift it into the car perfectly fine myself. But, he is an employee there, so I figured, well, I might as well just take advantage of his kind offer and let him put it in the car. One of the good things about getting older. Most young people, unlike JKP, are more respectful to you, not less respectful. Go ahead and troll in peace. Is anybody doing anything to you, dumbass? Troll all you want. You don't need to be a dumbass, too. I'm not usually the one who times people out or whatever. Yeah, certain lines you cross, I'll just ban you immediately. I don't really bother with timing people out unless they're already established. But you got to be pretty line crossy for me to ban you. I kind of like trolls and like to see what they bring into the. Well, this is actually clogged. I couldn't successfully vape it at all. So I came back in here to get a different vape. This one here. What flavor is it? Marijuana. As a previous line crosser, I will allow some mischief. It feels like old age and impending death. That's what it tastes like, I mean. That's its flavor. Who cares if he's being needlessly rude? He's purportedly being rude to me. But so accordingly, if it doesn't bother me, why should I ban him? I'm not that soft. I can take a couple of I guess you'd say provocative statements without being emotionally impacted. Yeah, we are so rude, GKP. We are so rude to you. We're so rude to you. Guys, you need to be more polite to JKP. All he's done is call the old man one word and old man one word. Well, that's true. He did just call the old man an old man. Yeah, you should feel victimized. But that's because you're such a dumbass, you know? I'd feel victimized by God if I were you. I have no doubt you do so feel victimized. Remember, God hasn't forsaken you. You'll be smart once you're dead, or you go to heaven and you get to experience it for yourself. Now, do you feel more victimized? Gosh, I'm sorry. Dear me. Maybe you should make the sound that the doves make when they cry. Boo, 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 boo. Boo, 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 boo. Hit a blinker real quick, old man. What's a blinker? I don't know what that means. Because I don't know what your word means, I cannot follow your command. I mean, unless you mean a blinker on a car, in which case I say no, I will not do so. And if you mean a blinker like they put on horses in horse racing, then I say no, I will not do that either. Or if you mean a blinker like a person who blinks, then I say no. Also, I will not do that. If you mean a blinker like a bong rip, all right, fine. I will do that. But listen, I'm not obeying your command. I'm just independently pulling this bong rip. Of course you wouldn't, old man. Puff to the light blinks. That one doesn't. Oh, no way. No, dude. That's crazy. That's only for DMT vapes. If you got any kind of a decent weed vape, you could not possibly. With my lung capacity, I would fucking cough my brains out if I hit that thing with as much lung capacity as I have. And that one's kind of harsh on the throat too. We got other ones that, we get a variety of vape pens, and they're like, disposable ones. They're pre-filled up and they have a battery already in them. Rachel likes them a lot. But some kinds of them are more subject to getting clogged than others. Regardless, maybe on the gentlest one, I could do half a lungful of it, but I don't want to put myself through that suffering of taking a huge vape hit and then just coughing forever and just feeling like you have cashed lungs all day. No, thank you. Now, give me a DMT pen, and sir, I will meet your challenge. No problem. Anyway, I'm interested in the defensible typology theory. Could you provide me an explanation of what's your goal with the theory? To explain human consciousness or personality. In a more colloquial sense, it's to explain personality, which is to say, why is it that individual humans are always themselves throughout the whole course of their life, even as particulars change? I never wake up one morning and Rachel and I have switched personalities, And additionally, why is it the case that people from totally different walks of life, experiential backgrounds, etc., can be so much like one another in terms of their affect and personality displays? Answering those questions is what defensible typology attempts to do. Or it's what is one thing that it attempts to do. Another thing it attempts to do is to provide a modelable explanation of human personality via attentional configuration, such that it defines which fields upon which we pay attention, the fields upon which we pay attention, information flow directionalities from field to from person to field. Some of those, you conceive of an individual for the purpose of modeling as having a static identity that is doing the attending, either on their own internal metaphysical field, their own internal physical field, on their external metaphysical field or on the external physical field, they're paying attention. The individual is a static individual identity, which is to say, they are a constant configuration of attentional manners that doesn't change throughout their entire life, modified by their particular experiences, nurture stuff, you know? Modified slash informed slash broken and or defined by their experiences, you know? It depends how much, what type you are and what shit happens to you, how much you're defined by your experiences versus your type. Regardless, you'll test the same on cognitive function tests. In other words, what Becky T said the other day is it never, ever, ever happens. Where what Becky T said is she thinks she's an unhealthy ENFP. That explains her not doing well on the NE tests. No, it doesn't explain that. Becky O'Coin, Planet Ketchup, she's an unhealthy ENTP, but she's an as much an ENTP as I am. Test her functions, she tests the same as me. The difference between us is in terms of our levels of toxicity, right? I'm not a toxic person. She is, and probably it stems from childhood abuse. But our cognitive function says the same. So that's what typology, defensible typology is doing, trying to explain. It says, actually, if we were to, let's pretend Eric's definitions of cognitive functions are correct, and Eric's understanding of typology is correct, then what would we see if we had a chance to ask a bunch of people the following kinds of questions that purportedly link to these things? Well, so it makes meaningful predictions, in other words, that other personality systems or whatever don't even attempt to do. Other explanations, quote unquote, that aren't really explanations about personality type, they actively avoid the kind of rigor that is required for it to be meaningful because they want it to be an open interpretation thing. They don't want it to be, defensible. If something's defensible, then you can be expected to defend what you're saying about it. You can be expected to make your case, defend your claim. If something is interpretive, then you don't have to defend whatever you say about it because it's ultimately just your intuition versus other people's intuition. Some of them good intuitors and some of them weak intuitors, you know? I asked her if she made MBTI content. She said, not yet. Who is this? I guess she did get to it. That's cool. What's the vid like? You talking about Becky? If she made MBTI content? I don't know what she does. Got no idea. I paid zero attention to her. She's just part of my SI data pool, like an example I bring up to make certain points like I did tonight. So you can approach the issue of typology from a number of different angles. You could say, hey, here's this set of tests. Why do these people, this small group of people, all get so similar results on these different components of the test that don't appear to inherently link to anything, each other in any necessary way, right? Necessary way. Like, you could point to, say, a group of extroverted intuition dominants and say, okay, why is it among all these people who have almost identical scores on this big battery of creativity tests that test extroverted intuition, why is it that half of them are incredibly good at verbal reasoning skills and the other half are incredibly bad at them? And there's nothing in the middle. We could start with an observation like that and say, this is one thing that needs to be explained that only cognitive functions adequately explains, or that cognitive functions, at the very least, provides a sense of intuitive resonance that no other explanation provides. That it just makes sense in ways that other things don't. We already know we pay attention to stuff. We already know we pay attention in different ways. And we can articulate a finite and complete list of the ways in which we pay attention. Nobody has ever been able to produce a single example of something that doesn't qualify as one of the existing ways of paying attention. In other words, it's comprehensive in its accounting of attention. And that's really what I love that question, whoever asked that question. That is the most important question to ask, right? What are you attempting to do with this right now? What are you attempting to do? I was asked what my goal was, but the best question is, what am I attempting to do when I'm explaining defensible typology? What I'm attempting to do is present an explanation that, for example, answers the question I posed. Why is it that we see all these people who perform equally well on extroverted intuition, half of them kick all kinds of ass on TI questions, half of them are completely retarded about them, and nobody's in the middle? Why do we see that? Now, granted, I'm presenting a data set that's aspirational, not extant, okay? I think that data set could be put together, but I will add the caveat that data set is aspirational and or hypothetical rather than extant. So slap me on the wrist and deny me my biscuits, because I, as Jerry Lewis famously once said, am a very bad boy. To the delight of 1950s audiences who apparently completely were born without a sense of humor. Oh, Jerry Lewis, you've done enough damage. Go host your great telethon in the sky. Are you already dead? Okay. You've done enough damage to the world's aesthetic sensibilities. You think God scolds bad artists in heaven? Successful bad artists. Is Phil Collins dead? So I hope God scolds him when he gets to heaven for I can feel it coming in the air now. Hold on. Hold on. Which has been covered by some country guy with a beard and has regained popularity. I was just singing his version of it, actually, which is a little bit different melodically. He stylizes it a little bit. That's such an obsidian octopus thing to say. Well, that guy's right. And if you look at our interaction style animal handout that I've given you all, you'll see that that kind of response rubric falls squarely in the octopus square. That's the Phil Collins song that Santa sings when he's coming to my chimney tonight. Yeah, I've always, maybe that's why I don't like the song very much. I have this weird haunting memory of Christmas gone terribly wrong. Over 200. You have over 200, you're an octopus, Ruben, with over 200 arms, each of which is holding a Mayan obsidian sacrifice knife. That's your type. You're called Shanktopus. Mayan Shanktopus. You have a Mayan name too. It's like Quackala Takala Pakala or something. But the English translation is Shanktopus. Anyway, the Shanktopus is a born leader, but also is very reserved. Okay? A Shanktopus is a personality type that really loves to see other people thrive and succeed, but also who prioritizes a lot of times their own success and priorities. They're a type that can be very talkative, but can also be quiet. And like the Shanktopus that represents who they are fundamentally, they can carry 100 different knives, but they're all made out of obsidian. Look, I'm not saying it doesn't. I have a feeling that song will be around forever. It's got a real appeal to a sense of portentousness, right? Like something's gonna happen, right? But it's too dramatic and Phil Collinsy for that, for me. That's why I've asked Phil Collins to please unwrite the song. But the other song that Mayan Shanktopus is a One Piece character? Wow. I'm pretty good. I don't even know One Piece and I can make up their characters. I would find it very hard to believe that One Piece has a character named Mayan Shanktopus. um, Quackala Pakala Takala or whatever it is. Yeah. I figured. Anyway, Mayan Shanktopus. It's an octopus with 100 arms, each of which is holding an obsidian knife. And his villain and superpower is to cut out your heart on his Mayan altar under the sea. What do you think? It's a, you might call that character a mixed metaphor. He cuts out your heart as part of the the sashimi bar he runs under the sea, which just serves sashimi of land animals. Google Trends is going to have a small bump in searches for Mayan Shanktopus One Piece. That's what the title says, right? I was going to, but Rachel's not feeling it this evening. She doesn't want to do it. So in fact, I thought about even playing it by myself just to see how it plays, but I figured I'll just wait for her to be more in the mood. I do have a sense that she may be a little bit constipated tonight. She told me earlier that she was drinking black coffee in order to encourage her poops to leave her body. So, I've got my fingers crossed for her. Robert P says 512 types, but they have recently identified another polarity and maybe 10,024 by now. uh, Dave Pooper Sours, will you stop, please? Will you just stop? Your play is blasting in my sleep, and my swimming is jogging in your park right now. You know? Try fruit, says Fly Guy. Plums, adds Carlos Paeva. Well, I don't know if we really have any fruit here. If we do have any fruit, it might just be candy. We do have peach rings and strawberry puffs. Have you ever tried these strawberry puffs before? They taste like strawberry quick. Is salami a fruit? Benjamin Sadik? What about him? Oh, great. Wonderful. Yet another person making up bullshit. The T isn't silent, but it sounds like an R. Rhazatic. I mean, look, my point is that we've figured out what we can figure out so far over here and have articulated things accurately. Unless he's building off work I've already done, he's wasting his time. He's monk adjacent. Everybody wants to be Carl Jung. I don't think I'm Carl Jung. I think I'm the expert who's brought in to debug Carl Jung's code, which I did successfully. And you got all these other people saying, actually, no. Just shut the fuck up already. You're just confusing things further. If you really cared about the truth, you'd listen to what I was saying. Do you know about Stan Gooch's hybrid man theories about how much of man's traits can be explained by the combination of Neanderthal and sapiens traits? Left-handedness may be a Neander trait. But didn't sapiens have those traits before they met Neanderthals? Well, like I said, Carl Jung kind of described the game, but didn't write any code. So to point out to bring my attention to his description of the game he wants to see coded with when critiquing my coding, which has to actually be rigorous or won't work, right? It's ridiculous. Well, yeah, Carl Jung may have described in the game that he wanted this element of the game to look like that, but he didn't really, he was just intuiting the general concept. He wasn't doing any actual coding on the thing. In the process of coding it, we've determined that's not how it actually works. He's wrong about this, wrong about that, That doesn't mean his description of the game that should be coded wasn't doesn't represent a genius leap in human understanding. It does. But it doesn't mean we can look back to that when trying to figure out whether, how to debug code we're writing now, which is a serious, like, real endeavor, not just something you can throw vague descriptions at, right? If you want to be able to simulate personality, then you need to have everything clearly defined. If you can't simulate it, then you're not talking about something that is is trying to model anything. Rather, you're just creating more arbitrary taxonomies. Just because you can create arbitrary taxonomies doesn't mean they're meaningful. God doesn't make sharp edges unless it's to hurt things. And that's why we don't have square penises. Very insightful, Carlos. Very, very insightful. I'm about to. I've seen some peens that are very dangerous. Have you ever seen duck peen or echidna peen? I'm about to. Well, I don't know. As far as I can tell, I haven't had it officially tested or anything, but I believe I have a human penis. I'm not sure what tests they do to determine the species of your penis. Maybe they check how many chromosomes your penis has. Could be that. Probably they have a separate genome bank for penises, I would guess. They've got species and then penises so that they can just isolate what species your penis is. But I don't want to go to a scientist and have my penis probed and examined by science. No, thank you. I don't know, does it? I don't know if it does or not. When I touch my thumb to my pinky, that little tender thingy in your forearm doesn't pop up. Which side should I show you? Is it this side or is it the other side? I can't tell. It doesn't seem. Oh, right here. I see it. This one. That thing? Yeah. Show me the belly of your arm. It's the belly of my arm. I will show you. I see a tendon coming up over here somewhere. Or maybe it's just a muscle. I don't know. I don't have it. Does that make me more primitive or less primitive? Having that tendon makes you more primitive. I definitely don't have it then. And tendon free. I'm more advanced than my primitive, less evolved people friends that have that thing. Oh, less tendon makes you more primitive. Oh, I'm more primitive. Then I definitely have that tendon. I have that. I have the biggest one of those tendons. I just was hiding it because I didn't want you to feel bad. Is your ring finger longer than your index finger? Yes, it is. What would be weird is if my thumb were longer than all of my fingers. I have a super long thumb. I go all the way up to here. Imagine that. Like, hey, why make my thumb so short? Wouldn't I be better served by having a thumb that stuck out like 6 feet? At least a couple of feet, like 2 feet or something, you know. And I could really stick my thumb up my butt far. Where's my evolution? Come on, evolution. I want to be able to better reach my prostate. Maybe that tendon is Vincent, but he's fine with Vince, but don't call him Vinny. Some primates have a long finger like that. It's called the butt pick finger. Is that the scientific name for it? That's for eating bugs out of logs. Log bug finger is barely any better than butt pick finger. He'll tolerate Vin if he wants something from you. Otherwise, he'll punch you in the face for that. All right. Well, I'm not going to leave right this second. I should go right this second because I'm thinking, Eric, what are you doing? What are you doing? Shouldn't you eat some food or something? Shouldn't you be a useful human? Shouldn't you be better than you are, but not as bad as you could be? I don't know, everybody. I'm as confused as you are. Life is an everlasting series of challenges, opportunities, adventures, tragedies, the whole 9 yards. Also boring parts. A lot of boring parts too, you know. This is one of those parts for you. If you want to ask yourself, hey, why is it, Eric, that I'm here listening to you say this stuff? Well, it's because this is one of the boring parts of your life. There are adventurous parts, exciting parts, all those things I said, right? But there are also boring parts. And this is one of those parts. The nice thing is, by getting it out of the way now, you'll have fewer boring parts later. Because everybody begins life predetermined to experience a number of boring parts. They're like a woman's ovums. Ova? I guess it would be ova rather than ovums. Ovums sounds like the name of a cereal. Can I have another bowl of ovums, Mom? Sure, honey. Jerry loves the appearance, texture, and maybe even the flavor of human ova. That's why I feed him for breakfast ovum cereal. They look like ova. They have the same squishiness as ova. And so we can't say for sure. We hypothesize that they might even taste like ova. We can't say for sure because, of course, that would be cannibalism. And we discussed it at the board meeting, and we decided we didn't want to admit that we were cannibals. So, hence this disclaimer in this commercial for ovums, the ova-themed cereal. The is for yum yum. The jingle for it is like, yum, 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 can I have a bowl of fun? Can I have a bowl of yummy, yummy ovums? Something like that, you know. Ovums. The ova-themed cereal that'll bring you back to your earliest childhood moments. That's its selling point. This is good. This takes me right back to my earliest moments before Dad interfered with his sperm. Oh my God, the flavor of this. I remember so well. Back when I was conceived by my father's insemination of my mother. Oh, it smells like the inside of a womb. Can fetuses smell the inside of their mother's womb? Tonight at 11. Scientists say that the answer to this question may surprise you. But no, babies cannot smell the inside of their mother's womb. When asked why, they said, because fetuses don't breathe in through their nose. So, take that, pro-lifers. Oh, yeah? This is what I'm going to say next time I encounter one of those darn pro-lifers. I'm going to say, okay, well, if a fetus is really a human being, then can it smell what the inside of its mom's womb smells like? And if they say, well, no, you say, well, I can. You know why? Because I'm a human. If they didn't say, wait, you can smell the inside of your mom's womb? Yes. I did it many times when she was alive. I get a long tube, stick it right up one nostril, the other all the way past the cervix, up into the womb area. Just take a good snort of that. You gotta do it quick, so you get just the womb smell without any of the juice, Ruben is masculine and you're feminine according to what theory? Bullshit 102? According to Bullshit 102, you don't even need to bother finishing that sentence. I don't care what Bullshit 102 says about it. What did I do and then why did I do it? I once again returned from there without a drink. All right. Okay, fine. You talked me into it. You guys are a bad influence on me. I will have one of these before I have a cup of coffee, which is next on the list of things to have. Okay. Cheers. Mmm. That's good chicken strip. We get these breaded chicken strips at the Pioneer Market. They got different kinds. These ones are the hand-breaded chicken tenders, they're called. They're delicious. Mmm. I'll tell you, this chicken did not die in vain. Thanks, Caroline. Little Payaso. That's me. That's my street name. When I go down back to the hood and say, don't mess with Little Payaso, people say, why not? And I tell them, because he doesn't like being messed with. He's pretty sensitive. So people actually don't mess with me. Because who would want to be mean, to somebody who's sensitive? I don't think anybody would want to do that. And that's one to grow on, friends. That's where I get all the street cred from. I get all my street cred from the fact that nobody messes with me because I'm very sensitive, and if they did, they'd hurt my feelings. So, everywhere I go, all the people in the hood are like, all right, all right, all right. Give me the red carpet treatment. Saying to each other, ain't nobody messes with Eric. And then correcting each other. I mean, Lil Payaso. As I glare, what did you call me? Well, that is what you might call an encouraging dinner. The food encourages my body with its nutrients. You could say that food peer pressures my body with nutrients. Except I'm not sure that either my food or my body believe the other one to be its peer. But what do I look like? Some kind of expert on peerage? I do? Okay. Well, that's good. You call them nutrients. I agree. Well, there's a certain moment when there's two things in food, right? There are nutrients, which your body turns into energy. And there are putrients, which your body turns into poo. Now, new in this construction then is Greek for energy or something. And trient means your body turns something your body turns into the prefix. What is your body going to do? I guess it could throw up or diarrhea out. It could, but by and large, it just has to accept what you put in. And, oh, this is what is food this time? Okay, I guess I just got to digest it. Can you please eat fewer of those things? Wait. Ah, more beans. Now I gotta digest all these beans. Well, it'll get back at you with acid reflux. Sometimes it goes on the offensive. Acid reflux sounds like a weapon of mass destruction. To me, is physical pain worse than emotional? Uh, well, they're it's apples and oranges, you know? It's like physical pain, it really depends on the duration of it. Like, I'd obviously rather have a short duration physical pain than emotional pain because emotional pain is probably linked to some sort of SI thing that's going to come up again and again. Here I am. Look, it is false advertising, true enough, but I did not know it was going to be false advertising when I titled it that. What I can do for you, however, to fix the problem is this. I can change the title of the video. There. What do you think about that? Now the title is plus. Because the plus part wasn't false advertising, just the Mad Magazine board game. I do want to play it with Rachel. I want to play it on stream so that show media can access the site of us playing it since he's the one who sent it to us. I don't want to play it by myself because I figure like that would be doing the gift a bit of a disservice, perhaps. Right. Well, he was waiting for us to play the game on stream, not for me to half-assedly play it by myself, right? So I figure he's waited long enough already. He can wait another day or two until Rachel feels like it. Is it buffering? I don't think so. It shouldn't be. I've got good internet, but I mean, board games are mostly for I don't know. It seems like they've you can conceive of them being played in a couple of contexts, but from my perspective, they exist for parents to play with children as kind of a family activity. And they can be fun in that regard. If you're like on vacation with a family and so everyone's it's more like this happened more before people had phones, you know. But well, thank you, Show Me. I appreciate it. It's very cool and vintagey, you know. It's got a very 1979 feel to it. eBay got told Show Media that he's getting banned because he didn't mail people enough boxes of live cockroaches. Said in an email to him, "You need to follow our example. Okay? We said in a previous email, do as we do. And you have not mailed anybody any bugs." All right. Well, I am now going to wrap it up and say good night to you all. For it is time for me to move on to some other thing, such as perhaps maybe watching some TV or potentially, oh, I was making some coffee. Well, I'll tell you what. Before I leave, though, I will I will go smoke a cigarette with you. I might as well, because I'm about to go do that anyway. I'm going to take you outside to smoke a cigarette because before I go, I want you to quickly look into the sky. Tell me if you see any UFOs. I don't want to get abducted when I go outside by a UFO or a Sasquatch. I feel as though, oh, cool, that's what I'll do after this. I'll watch that thing with Rachel. She's awake. Um, I do want to go outside and smoke a cigarette, but I don't want to be abducted by aliens or Sasquatches. So, sorry, a little disconnection there for a moment because I accidentally pushed the wrong button on the side of my phone. So, anyway, I don't want to be abducted by aliens or Sasquatches. And as we all know, aliens and Sasquatches are notoriously camera shy. So, if you bring a camera with you, you're much less likely to be abducted by either aliens or Sasquatches. Like a lot of times when people go out in the woods um, without a camera, the grown-up Sasquatches will get really forward, aggressive almost, and start throwing the baby Sasquatches at the people. The baby Sasquatches are still about the size of like, uh, regular sized adult humans. So um, it's obviously not a safe activity. The Sasquatches may think it's all fun and games, but a lot of people have been injured that way. The one thing they all had in common, none of them had cameras with them. So, in order to prevent having smaller Sasquatches thrown at me when I go outside, I'm bringing you along with me. Check the skies. Tell me if you see any UFOs, because they're also notorious for abducting people and also for throwing baby Sasquatches. I guess really a lot of things like to throw baby Sasquatches. Loch Ness Monsters have a game called Throw the Baby Sasquatch, which is basically equivalent to human catch, but instead of a baseball, they use a baby Sasquatch. Um, the dog people of Kazakhstan have a ritual called Roll the Baby Sasquatch, but it's only because they don't have catching hands, they've got paws, and so they can't really throw it. Even if they could sort of toss it up in the air, they wouldn't be able to catch it. And as everybody knows, Don't throw any kind of baby unless you're going to catch it. It's just common sense. Unless you know for sure you can catch it. A lot of parents do throw the baby up in the air, you know. But you better be damn sure you're gonna catch that thing. But at a certain age, not a baby, you know. People do that with a little bit older ones. It's a dangerous game you're playing, mom and dad. Let's play throw the baby. I'd say let's not play throw the baby. But, you know, if you're sure you're gonna catch it. It's giggling. Yeah, I won't be giggling if you drop that fucking thing. On the other hand, it's hard to deny that doing something that makes a baby giggle and delight, it's hard to call that evil, you know? It's hard to even call it reckless, really. Oh, babies. You don't even know how to talk yet. How immature could you be? I talk bad, talk, baba. I know, Tiffany. I feel you, dog. I also feel a whisper of sadness. Why? Well, I wonder if Rachel had an interesting enough day, or if maybe I was a little too much today or something. I do feel kind of jazzed, you know, but I don't know. FI? Something. An exploration of feelings and mood in shades of blue by Eric. In the morning, I awoke feeling. First, I felt sad. Then, my emotion morphed into something more like poignancy. After a solid 30 or 45 minutes of poignancy, I settled into a brief period of ennui. This is the bestseller, Diary of My Feelings by Eric. It's just a diary of what I feel all day long. I should do that. I would not know what to write down. Like right now, I'd write laughing, whatever o'clock, 8, 11, laughing, laughing at, and then I'd write my joke about making a feelings diary. And then I'd put like 12, 11, and 30 seconds. Still feeling a little afterglow. 12, 12. New joke about afterglow. Reignites feelings of laughter. 12, 12. 8, 12. And 30 seconds. Feelings of laughter persist for unknown reasons. Perhaps because I'm making this stupid feelings diary. I look back later and go like, oh, I remember that laugh that I had that one time. Ah, yes. That was the poignancy. That was the day that I was really, really reveling in the poignancy of things. And boy, I am glad I kept this diary. I'm glad the feeling I'm feeling right now is sort of an echo of the poignancy I felt then. I should write about it in my current diary. My hot tub underwear live stream future. I finally started my Twitch career yesterday. What do you want, Mr. Randy? You want to eat? Well, come eat. Let's eat right here. We're no longer playing Follow Trouble into the Kitchen, remember? We're done with that nonsense. Because that nonsense was annoying. Yes, highly annoying. Of course, it just so happens that right now I want to go into the kitchen. Actually, I should wait. I shouldn't get a cup of coffee before I finish this non-alcoholic beer. It would indeed be very SI focused if you were to both keep such a detailed diary and then spend time later rereading it. You'd just be triggering things of purely subjective interest. There'd be no meaning to it at all. So on that level, it would just be pure SI-FI. But what I was talking about is logging specifically FI stuff. But the act of archiving stuff and believing it to be of value because it's from your own past, not for any other reason, is a very SI frame of reference. So, did I smoke a cigarette outside? I guess I must have. I don't even remember smoking it. Did I? Did I smoke a cigarette? So how are y'all on this fine night? I'm doing quite well, really. You know, I feel like yes, I did smoke a cigarette. I feel excited. I feel like Rachel and I are entering a new chapter, and things are gonna go all right. Things are gonna go fine. We're gonna get everything sort of straightened out in terms of representing a plan, like a TE financials plan kind of a thing. And I feel confident that it's gonna work. I did some number crunching this morning and stuff, so that is kind of a load off of my shoulders because I guess it's been weighing on me for the last year, the sort of lack of plan or directionality in our long-term affairs. So that makes me feel a lot better. Like, okay, we're in progress on a plan that's going to work, should work. And also that we're engaging in a plan here that is going to eventually, ideally, if it all works out as planned, and essentially give Rachel and I a full-time job, at least some parts of the year. If we're trying if we're going to be managing vacation rentals ourselves, well, with just this one rental that we're getting down the street, it's easy enough to imagine yourself, people check out, you go clean up after them, pack the trash in a little wilderness car, take it to your house, bada bing, bada boom, ready for the next people to come in. You got 3 of those things going on. We're going to have our hands full, we're gonna have to hustle during the um, busy season. We may even, if it gets a little overwhelming, we may need to hire somebody to go do some of those for us, you know. But that would cut into the profit of the thing, obviously. And what we're looking for is a positive cash flow so that we can both live and start putting money away and stuff. So that's, it feels good to uh, be so adult finally. Took a long time, but I stopped playing avoidant Eric, started looking at all the financial papers and stuff, and it wasn't so scary once I started actually looking at it. It just seemed so intimidating at first. Well, I mean, our job's gonna be cleaning lady, basically. But if I wanted to produce the kind of revenue stream that I wanted to produce, then we're gonna have to do that work ourselves, at least for some stretch of time. And and that's not a bad thing at all. You know, it's going to feel very different having a job where we're cleaning our own properties after people have rented them for vacation rentals or whatever than it would to do the same work for somebody else. I like the idea of us renting them as vacation rentals rather than month to month because I get to keep a steady eye on the properties and you know, it's not on a month to month. Basically, once they pay their rent, it's their house um, until that rental arrangement changes. You know, so and you can have trouble with month to month rentals and squatters and people who don't leave and difficulty with evictions and stuff like that. Well, yeah. On top of everything, the other thing about it is, I think all the other aspects of it are going to be like the financials are going to be probably. I haven't looked into it really, but are going to be automated by things like Verbo and Airbnb. That's where you get customers from. For there may be other vacation rental listing places, right? But once we set up the listings, then presumably those those companies, Airbnb and Verbo, then presumably the people pay them and then they send you a check, keeping their whatever percent cut they take. I don't know, you know. I'm assuming that's how it works, but I'll have to look into it and find out. Regardless, like putting up the listings will be like a one-time job mostly. We might have to maintain those listings a little bit, update them with updated conditions around here would probably be, you know, be a good thing to do because if those sites show like, you know, if people look at it and it shows very up to the minute kind of, you know, conditions as of meow date meow meow, and if you do update it regularly, then or at least note if there are conditions that need noting, then people might be more attracted to that listing because people like things that update regularly. Like, you know, people update their what do you call it? Facebook, like companies update their Facebook page regularly. Like people like that because you know that they're active, it's going on, they're not going to be closed, whatever. Yeah, they auto deposit periodically, says Lou. Okay, cool. So that's how we're gonna do it, and The reason, multiple reasons for doing it like this. One of them is, even though we're not going to have 100% occupancy all year round or every month or whatever. Um, I'm, I believe this will have to be tested and borne out by reality, but I believe and I'm fairly confident that I'm right that we can we can bring in a third more from a property, 33% more from a property as a vacation rental than as a month to month. On balance, if you look at the full year, busy season, apparently vacation rentals around here are booked pretty much every day of the month. And then things are pretty dead from meow to meow or whatever, like February to through, I don't know, maybe April or January through March or something. So, if in fact we can do that, if in fact we can pull in a third more from vacation rental, like I think we'll get, I think we could get 2,200 a month for that house as a month to month. I think we can get, if you average it over the course of the year, 3 grand a month from that house as a vacation rental. That's conservatively estimating it at 800 more, which is about a third of 2,200. We might have been able to get 2,300 for it. I don't know. I don't think we could get 24 for it. I saw another 3-bedroom house for rent that was. The thing is, there are no comps around here. There's basically no month to month rentals available. So uh, that's one of the things that made renting month to month appealing to me is that we'd have plenty of demand and could have our pick of tenants. It's not inconceivable that we could, if we found, probably not though. I was just thinking, if we found the right property that doesn't work as a vacation rental but does work as a month to month, we might still consider doing that. But given the fact that we, it's like, if I'm pretty convinced, right, about the greater earning potential of vacation rentals because if you just happen to be in a spot very as close as you can get to Yosemite, right? So that's what makes it a good idea to do that. And so we should look for specifically properties either we got this one here in Mariposa Pines, but I'm thinking ideally you got it somewhere along Triangle Road or some other place that's maybe a little closer to town, just because I heard from the lady at concierge that vacation rentals here in Jersey-Dale have a slightly lower occupancy rate because it's further from town. Maybe find someplace in the Mid Pines area that's even closer to Yosemite than we are, and find something cute at the right price. That would be booked very steadily as a vacation rental because you're quite close to. Well, you're as close as you can get to the entrance that's still a town, basically. I mean, there's another place a little closer that I've never been to, but Mid Pines would be a place where we could afford something potentially as a second rental. Anyway, it really changes everything for me that this idea we've been batting back and forth, that I've solidified it by doing an accounting of sorts. It may be incomplete, but enough for me to know what we're working with, and we've got one of these in process. Maybe opened escrow today, probably open it tomorrow, I think. But and to see it actually unfolding and realize this is gonna work, we're gonna be okay, everything's gonna be fine. It's it's a shockingly different state of reality than I was in prior to this, to looking at that house last week or whenever it was, and realizing we're doing this. We're implementing my plan. It's like I think for at least a year I just couldn't even believe that, like, I was just scared that of course I was gonna get pushback, that my plan was whatever, and that, you know, but because we're doing big things like buying a house, it's like I spent my whole life being thwarted at every turn from doing any big thing like that. Yet here we are doing it because nobody's working against me at all. Delilah and Rachel both agree this is a good idea. It's not like some sort of crazy idea. It's very actionable or whatever. Granted, the idea has evolved since my initial musings on it, but it's so weird. It's so weird to suddenly be like unbeholden to anybody, and thereby also responsible for everything, when you've never been either of those things before. Not really. So anyway, big life moment shift for me, which is why I ordered this. Which is why I ordered this tarot reading. So I think what I'm gonna do is wrap this up now and watch that tarot reading. All right, let me check, see if it got to my email yet. If it hasn't gotten there yet, then I'll hold off for a second here. But I'm hopeful. Yes, there it is. Wonderful. Okay, I'm closing this, and I'm hoping Rachel's interested in coming downstairs to watch this with me. If not, I may have to postpone watching it till tomorrow or something. So, good night, goodbye, and good luck. I love you all.